Tamara here. I'm here to do a review of Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. And if you guys are familiar with Gillian Flynn, it's probably because of her most popular book, Gone Girl. That movie is coming out in, I think, November or October or something like that. But this book also, I believe, is being made into a movie that is also being released this year as well. Now, Dark Places is a really dark book. It really is. So this is definitely an adult book. It's not really for young readers. I would not recommend it for young readers. There's a lot of serious themes going on. I'm going to try my best to get through this review without giving you too many spoilers, because the payoff in the end, you'll want to try to figure out the mystery on your own, and I don't want to spoil it for you. So I'll try my absolute best not to give you any spoilers and keep this sweet and short. Okay, in a nutshell, I found that while I enjoyed Dark Places, it was not as good as Gone Girl. And I felt like I had set really high expectations based on my experience with Gone Girl, and I probably shouldn't have done that, because I feel like I might have enjoyed this a little more had I not constantly been waiting for the big aha that I got in Gone Girl. That didn't happen here. This was a slow burn, and by that I mean, it was a slow start to me, but they started clicking into place, the story started moving, and I feel around 30% or so is when I really started getting into the story. Now, this story is about Libby. She is the main narrator. There are 3 narrators in this story: Libby, her brother Ben, and her mother Patty. Now, this story starts in present day, and throughout the story we're taken back to 1985, I think it is, where Libby's family was murdered. Most of her family, her 2 sisters and her mother, were killed in their home. And basically the brother went to jail for it. This is pretty well known, and it's not really a spoiler, but she starts to live her life in this way where she's depressed, she has all these problems, and you might think at first it's because of a result of what happened to her as a child, but I don't know, personally I feel like at some point you've got to take responsibility for yourself, and Libby had a very hard time doing this. That she was the kind of person, a character where you hate to even feel bad for her, because it's everything that happens to her she has brought on herself as an adult, because now in present day, obviously Libby is in her 30s. She is not a teenager, she is not a preteen, she is not a young girl anymore. She's in her 30s, and she has not come to terms of with her past. Basically, she is choosing to ignore it, hide in her home, just, it's crazy. She is not one of those people that you root for, but while I said that, she's also somewhat likable, and I know that's totally, polar opposites. You don't like the character, she's not worthy of your sympathy, but you still kind of like her anyway. It's weird how Flynn was able to pull that off with Libby. Now, the other characters in the book, so Libby, okay, let me go back to Libby for a second. She was a very dynamic character. She started out one way, stayed that way for a while, but in the end, she seemed like she had a little bit of some type of redeeming quality there. The other characters, they were all dreadful. I'm telling you, they were all dreadful. The mother, Patty, she was a hot mess. Her father, Runner, hot mess. Brother Ben, hot mess. 2 siblings, they were kids. You really can't call kids a hot mess, but they weren't the best little siblings ever either. Her aunt was probably the most real, the most honest, the most caring of them all. So Libby didn't have a lot of good examples. Ben didn't have a lot of good examples, and poor him. Poor Ben. This kid, a house full of women, he doesn't know his father. His friends are the worst. The people he chooses to hang out with are the worst. This girl, Rolanda, I can't remember the girl's name, but the little girl is like crazy, cuckoo crazy. And it's just like, wow, nobody in this book can catch a break. There are so many terrible things going on from beginning to end. I could not wrap my mind around all the dysfunctional things going on in this book. But on the writing side of things, Flynn did a good job because, like I said, it was a slow start, but the story is complex. I'm telling you, there's many facets. There's a lot of characters. You're trying to figure out what's what. You're flipping back and forth between the present and the past. You're seeing things from three points of view, and you kind of have to try to pull it all together. And for me, I found that I figured out, I thought I had it figured out around the 70% mark. And I was halfway there. And by that I mean I had half of the puzzle figured out. And I was correct with that half, but the other half kind of surprised me a little bit. So she's still able to surprise me, even though I'm really good at figuring these things out. And it's hard to surprise me. So when you start reading, you might think, oh, I don't know about this book. But trust me, keep pushing. Keep pushing. The payoff is worth it. The writing is good. The characters are intense, complex, heavy. I mean, all of it's kind of crazy. It's just a roller coaster ride without many highs. More like a roller coaster ride with deep valleys and deeper valleys. Deep and deeper valleys. Yeah, that's about right. I don't know any peaks in the story really, except one, which happens at the very, very end. And right when you're about to get off this crazy ride, something, worthwhile happens, which is a good thing. So yeah, guys, with that said, I would rate Dark Places 4 out of 5 bookmarks. It was very good. I recommend it. I will probably read more from Gillian Flynn. I'm thinking about maybe checking out Sharp Objects, which is another popular book from her. It probably won't be for a while though, and I expect it to be dark and gloomy and murderous and all types of things, so it probably won't be a while before I read it, but I definitely will read more from her. And yeah, you guys, did you guys read Dark Places? Did you read any other books by her, maybe possibly Gone Girl or Sharp Objects? If you did, please let me know what you thought of it. I'm curious to see if you thought about this book how I did. I personally know that a few of my, I know at least one person from my book club did not really like the book. But she reads a lot of books that are really different from this. So, this is definitely out of her comfort zone. So if you're one, I read a lot of fantasy, but I'm able to step out of that and to get into something else. But if you read a lot of heavy romance, a lot of happy-go-lucky reading, you might have a hard time with this. You might have a hard time with the things that are going on and digesting the story. Just being honest, keeping it real with you. So, if this is a complete departure from what you're used to reading and what you're comfortable reading, you should probably just skip it. So anyway, let me know if you read it. Let me know what you thought. And we'll chat. You'll catch me around on the internet, where, at Shelf Addiction on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And I'll see you guys next time. Happy reading.